Hey everybody, and welcome to How to Be Funny, module number 2. Very important module today. We're talking about comic timing. I can't stress to you how important comic timing is. Let's start with basic comic timing. A pun should be around 2 to 5 seconds long, 2 to 7 seconds long. A riddle, usually 6 to 10 seconds. Will depend on how long it takes the person to answer, if you actually are waiting for them to answer, or if you're just going to give the answer as the punchline. One-liners, depends how long the line is, but usually under 10 seconds. Longer jokes can go up to a minute. Then you've got your shaggy dog stories, which are kind of pointless stories that go on for a long time and then have no real punchline, and that is the lack of punchline is in fact the punchline, and they can go anywhere. They can go anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes if you really want to push it. Funnily enough, the longer you take it, the funnier it becomes, within reason, of course. Now, obviously, these aren't hard and fast timings, but the research shows that what I've said, they're approximate timings, and they tend to work best. But the comic timing I really want to talk about today is what I call the extended single action joke. The extended single action joke is a beautiful joke. It's you're no doubt familiar with it, although you may not know its name. You've probably seen it in Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. That's the first Austin Powers episode, where funny man Mike Myers comes out of the coma and has to urinate, has to take a pee. And obviously he's been in the coma for about 30 years, 60s to I think the early 90s, so probably about 23 years or so. Huge build-up of urine in that bladder. So that's the premise of the joke. That's the starting point. So what happens is, excuse me, he starts to go to the toilet, starts to urinate. You see him from behind. You don't actually see anything, and he urinates, and it just goes on, as you would expect after all that time in the coma, for a long time. The urination just keeps on going. I'll jump to another example of this. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, a send-up of film noir movies with funny man Steve Martin. A great movie. You should check it out. I'll post the links below, the YouTube links for you. At one point he has his cup of his famous Java, so he's pouring coffee out of a bag into a cup, and it goes for some time. Now the interesting thing I want to tell you about these jokes are that they start off boring. When they start the action, you think, oh well, that's a reasonable amount of time to pour coffee, or that's a reasonable amount of time to urinate. But then they go past that point, and it starts to be funny, because you go, oh, they're obviously taking longer than you really should, and it becomes funny. It becomes humorous because of the length of time involved. But then something very interesting happens. It actually starts to get boring. You get bored. The joke is over. You've seen enough of that. I'm tired of seeing funny man Mike Myers or funny man Steve Martin pour out coffee or urinate. But at a certain point, and it's usually around the 30 to 35 second mark, it becomes funny again, because you go through this wave of, it's like a roller coaster. Let's imagine an imaginary chart here. I've got level of funniness on the y-axis, and on the x-axis I have a fluxion of time, or time elapsed. And you'll find that you get this strange roller coaster thing happening, where as the time increases, the funniness increases, it reaches a peak, drops off due to boredom, but then it turns around to you and you go, I can't believe he's still going, and it gets funny again. And this cycle will just keep on going. Obviously nobody's pushed it for that long, because it's very expensive to make a motion picture film, and you can't invest that much time in the one joke. You can't have a 2-hour extended repeated single action gag that goes for 2 hours. I mean, it could be done, but you'd be taking a real risk, and your investors, if it failed, you'd never work in Hollywood again. Anyway, so the joke goes on and on and on. So I thought I'd give you an example of this today. So I'm going to start off with I want you to imagine I'm a bartender in a bar, and this is a cocktail shaker. It's not. I do own a cocktail shaker, but unfortunately the other day my wife had left it on a shelf under the stairs that it didn't belong on, and I got a little bit angry. I was a little bit tense for whatever reason, and I threw it. In a fit of anger, I threw it, and it disappeared further under the stairs. And I just, to be honest, I couldn't be bothered digging it out tonight for the to illustrate the joke, because it's not that important that it is a proper cocktail shaker, because I'm not actually obviously doing this for humour value. I'm just doing this to illustrate a point. Okay, so let's imagine that this is somebody's come up and asked me for a drink, and I say, certainly sir, I'll make you the drink, and I start to shaking the cocktail. Alright, we've got about 7 seconds on the clock there. That's pretty reasonable. In real life, you could expect this shaking to go on that long. Probably about now, you'd expect the bartender to stop shaking the cocktail and pour the drink. But I'm still going. So people are starting to go, hey, that's a bit weird. By this point now, obviously they're going, now that's funny, because it's clearly gone on too long, and the laughs are starting to happen. Getting some good laughs here. If you're in the audience, you'd hear the laughter slowly rising, and probably about this point in the movie, you have the whole audience laughing. But now we're reaching that point where it's starting to get a bit boring. It'll start to drop off. In the audience, you'd hear the titters starting to die, and eventually you probably get the die-hard still laughing, but now you probably find a bit of a silent patch. Okay, now we're going to hit that magic mark where we bottom out on the graph, and we're going to start to go up again, because it's just got clearly too absurd now. Here we go. It's starting to get funnier again. People are starting to laugh a lot more. People are really having a good laugh now. Reaching our second peak. It's funnily enough, the peaks and troughs happen a lot faster as time goes on. Okay, now we're dropping off again. Losing the laughter a bit. Laughter's dropping off. Probably down again. Now we'll wait a bit longer. You're probably feeling the laughter starting to rise again. Yes, he's still going. Can't believe it. And so on. Anyway, you get the idea. And we'd follow that peaks and trough pattern for some time. Anyway, that's the extended single action repetition gag. One of my all-time favorites. Really do. If you don't know Steve Martin, you should check him out. Funny Man, Mike Myers, two good examples of that gag. Probably a lot funnier than what I just did then, but I didn't have the proper shaker. But and obviously I'm in my office and not a bar. You don't have a guitar in a bar. Alright, well, that was Module 2, Comic Timing. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more great comedy tips tomorrow. Hi guys, I must apologise, I forgot to mention one of the most important parts of the extended single action repetition gag, and that is the teaser or false end. I guess I best explain this by illustration. In Austin Powers, Funny Man Mike Myers is urinating, and he starts to dribble and drop, and you think he's reaching the end of his urination. You can only tell by the sound, and then bam, he powers in again with full stream. So it's and in the Funny Man Steve Martin example, he's pouring his famous Java, and it looks like the bag's getting empty. He's only getting out a few dregs, and he tips, and a whole heap more starts to come out, and he returns to his action. So you have a kind of false end, or a promise of a false end, which goes back into full action. And what that does is you'll find that over time, let's go back to the graph again, as your peaks and troughs, they slowly start to flatten out until you're not really getting the laughs anymore. What that does, that false end provides a kind of kick in the pants, which brings up the laughs again, so you get a bit more extended time out of it. And you can do this false end as many times as you like. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that, because that is that's an important part of the gag. Thanks very much.